Let's dive into this oil painting with Blick Oil Paints. I'll be painting on a 9x12 pre-stretched canvas. I'll also be using some oil painting mediums to help speed up the drying time in between layers. When you're oil painting, I recommend using a glass palette because it's really easy to clean and you can use it over and over again. Set up a couple of palette cups for your painting mediums. I have alkyd glazing medium in one, and the other one I can use to clean my brush. I'm also using Utrecht Nude odorless paint thinner to thin my paints. Let's get started. First thing we want to do is establish a horizon line. I'm just going to make a quick pencil sketch. Now I'll paint some glaze layers. The first step is to paint a transparent layer that you'll paint all of your other layers on top of. That helps them to stick to the surface better. I'm going to set up my palette with a few key colors to help get started. I always need lots of white, so let's make sure we add that to the top of our palette. Next, I'm going to need some blue. I'll use this for the sky. Don't worry about that little bit of extra oil in your tube. That just means it's full of pigment. And don't forget your neutral colors, like yellow ochre. First, make your custom colors and add a little bit of alkyd gel. This will help decrease the drying time. Our first color is going to be blue for the sky, so I'm going to mix a light blue. Always add more white when you need it. If you want your oil paints to be a little more transparent, you can add more medium. Spread the paint out in a transparent layer as far as it will go without adding too much paint. You want this first layer to be nice and light. Go all the way to the horizon line, where the sky would start or end. Let's get started on another color while the paint is still wet. As I transition into the water, I want something a little more aqua colored. Don't forget to add some white. Okay, let's transition to the beach sand. I'm going to use this yellow ochre for the sand. I'm going to add lots of white to this color. Don't forget to add a little bit of fast drying medium. Overlap the sand and the water. It makes a really nice gradient and a really nice transition for the color. Let's help to redefine the horizon line before we move on to next steps. I'm going to use a round brush and just paint with the tip of that brush. I like a combination between the sky and the water for this color, so I'm just going to pull from each color on my palette that I already have. A little bit of soft blending around the edges of your color can really help to ease the transition from one color to the next. Now that we have a solid base layer down and re-established our horizon line, I'm going to make a quick sketch of some clouds, waves, and seashells. Here's where the wave breaks. So I'm going to sketch in a few lines here. This is where the foam meets the sand. Don't forget to add rolling waves that are out on the water. Now for some clouds. Last but not least, let's sketch some seashells on the sand in the foreground. When I'm painting with oils, it's important to paint the leanest layers first. So the diluted layers or thinned layers when you use the paint thinner or alkyd glazing medium or any other medium. So your first layers are thin, and the layers that you put on top of that are called fat because they have more oil. I like to combine the fat over lean technique with color blocking in my initial stages. Let's define the features of this beach scene a little bit more, from the clouds to the foamy water to the seashells, using thin layers. I always make sure I'm mixing white in with my colors wherever I need it. And I'm definitely adding some glazing medium to help speed up the drying times. White helps to keep your colors muted as you build them one on top of the other. Swiping the paint in multiple directions can really help build a cloud texture. While I'm building up texture on the clouds, I'm also using a variety of different shades. So a combination of white, blue, and a little bit of Payne's gray should give you the range you need to build shadows on the clouds. Use bright white to help pull out some highlights. Remember that you don't have to finish every layer all at once. Let's work our way from top to bottom and continue building transparent thin layers. I'm mixing a sea green and I'm using a little bit of titanium white, French ultramarine blue, cobalt turquoise, and viridian. Use the color to paint where you see shadows in the water. Use a thinned down white to paint the foam in the water. I like to use a little bit of paint thinner and a little bit of alkyd glazing gel mixed with white. Let's dig into some neutral tones for the seashells. I'm going to use a combination of burnt sienna, yellow ochre, white, and lemon yellow for the seashells. I'm making a little bit of shadow on the sand using Payne's Gray, neutral colors, and white. This really helps the seashells pop. Be sure to blend it to make it look natural. I'm retracing my pencil lines using a little bit of thinned out white paint. This helps me to make sure that I can continue to see them while I'm painting and makes a highlight at the same time. Make a foamy texture around your white highlights. You can use a mark making process to create texture in the waves just by using the tip of your brush. Notice that I'm not pressing really hard. A light touch is all you need. Allow some drying time in between transparent layers. It'll make it a lot easier to build them up as you go. Let's add another layer to this painting that really defines the highlights and shadows. I've really kept my paint layers super thin, which makes them really easy to blend together as I continue to paint. Go back and rediscover all of the highlights and shadows. The closer I get to finalizing my painting, the less medium I use in my paint. That makes the layers on top fattier, so they're going to stick to the layers below better. For my final layers, I like to pull out the brightest whites. I like a nice stiff paint mixture so I can make just a little bit of texture where I want it, on the clouds and the sea foam. Okay, we've added a lot of nice detail to these final layers. The last thing I'm going to do is redefine the horizon line. I'm going to use a round brush and just run it along the horizon line. You can keep working in oil painting for as long as the paint is open. Once it's dry, you can also add layers onto that. Find a place where you're comfortable for your own oil painting. I also think it helps to find a subject matter that speaks to you. I love the ocean, so I painted the beach and I really enjoyed it.